future vision, the path of where you want to go, how to set your flight path and get your pre-flight checklist in place using the analogy of a plane such that we actually know where we want to go. And of course, by having subscribed, and if you haven't yet subscribed, you can subscribe here. By subscribing, you end up, by following the links that are on here as well, you end up being able to take your Millionaire Master Plan test to find out what your genius is, what your level is. So you need to subscribe because that's the way you're going to actually make this a personal path for you. So here we are in episode 5 now. We are here in Bali, and this is where I get to share a little secret that most people don't start from when they're looking to create their success, which is that the most successful people in the world do not start by trying to invest their money. They start by trying to invest their time effectively. So how do you do that? Let's go into here. This is one of 5 elements where I'm going to share with you how to design your week in such a way that you take something freely available for you, the same 24 hours of time that even the most successful people in the world have as you have. It's what levels us all, is the amount of time we have every day. And how you actually take that time and you use it in the most effective way to not just, we're not talking about time management here, we're talking about energy management. How you link your time to your places, so no matter how busy you are, how stressed you are, how overworked, how underpaid, you actually get to a point where you actually can start to create that rhythm. Every Monday, I start with metal. Metal I start with on Monday, which is one of the 5 elements, which links to the question how. It's where I do all my numbers. It's see, here we have the question how here. I'm going to take you to 5 pavilions in our resort here, where you can see that each one has got a different sense. Here's where you get a perspective of everything from up here. There's very little flow that you can hear or feel. This is a little bit like a cubicle in an office where you have no interruptions. I don't take phone calls on a Monday unless it's conversations with my finance team. And that's because on the Mondays, I want to really make sure that I'm focused at this energy. If you were a chef, you would not take all of your shopping and then basically just throw it all in a blender and then hope somehow you can take it all out, take all the pieces out and make a nice meal. What you do is you organize your kitchen such that you actually have got in your kitchen different places which are appropriate for different things at different times. So think of the metal energy being a little bit like your fridge. It's where you actually are able to keep things in the freeze, and most of us don't spend enough time in metal energy, meaning we don't look at our numbers enough, we don't measure things enough. You don't need to do that yourself if it's not your genius, but you need to put the time aside to meet with the people who are going to help you to do that. And in the next video, I'll show you how to create a $1 million plumbing system to make sure all your cash flow and all your money, no matter how little it might be right now or how big it might be right now, how you can set all that up for success so you don't have to measure it. It all gets measured by your bank, by your finance systems, so that you can focus on the things that you're best at. Most of us haven't set that up because we didn't put that time aside every single week where we know, just like having the fridge, that we've got what we need, all the ingredients to be able to create whatever recipe we're looking for. Right? So most important thing, when in your week are you creating your metal time? When are you creating the time when you're going to ask the question how? Do you have a journal? And if you don't, you should create one where all of your questions around the numbers, do you have enough money, are you out of infrared now, that all of that gets set up at this very, very first step. And by the way, one thing that's super important is that we are right now talking about the very first step at infrared level. That is the step, measure your money. Everything I'm going to share on here is about how money comes as a currency in 3 different ways. You have currency, which is the flow of money itself, which is crystallized time. Is what happens when you take your time, put it in the right places, invest it in the right relationships, in creating the right products or services, so that as a result of that, that turns into money, and it only happens as a result of you delivering value, right? So the most important thing is to know that all flow happens as a result of money flow, which also is linked to time flow, which is also linked to the flow of your environments. You've all heard the concept of, being at the right place, right time. That's what it is to be lucky. It's like, wow, that person's always at the right place, right time. You get to design that, and that's the most important thing, is that every day you're designing yourself to be right place, right time. Even if you work 9 to 5, there's still times in the day when you can say, this is going to be a day that I really make sure that as far as numbers and measures go, I've set up the plan to do that, right? We are now in the second of our pavilions. This is our water one. You can see all around me is water. It's all blue. Actually, it says up there, you might be able to read it, water pavilion. And it says up there the question, why? So water is the beginning of all flow, right? Whereas metal is about to know, water is about to flow. And we can see here the pool as well. So this is one of my favorite spots because it's where I get to really ask the question why. Even if I'm traveling around the world, I'll create my why space as a space where I'm not taking interruptions, where I get to really say, why am I even doing the things I'm doing right now? Am I on purpose? Is our team on purpose? What needs to shift and what needs to change, which is going to allow us to be able to really bring more of this flow, more of this water energy or spirit energy into everything that we do. We're about to go to the what. What is about, like, the products you're going to create, the business that you're going to be running. But the what, which is the wood energy, wood only grows if you have enough water. So you need to have a big enough why in order for you to have a big enough what. So my Tuesdays are always my why energy. It's when I actually take time out, not the whole day, but I'll certainly take time out during the day to really start considering things. And if any time in the rest of the week I start questioning, why am I even doing this? Or why is that person doing that? I'll put it in my journal to come up with on the Tuesday, just like all my numbers will come up on the Monday, and all my meetings based on that will be on the Monday as well. Why is this important? Like I mentioned, with a chef isn't going to just mix everything up. They're going to put things in different places. Think of this being the kitchen sink. This is the water energy. The kitchen sink clearly is a very, very different place from the fridge. And you want to be doing different things with the kitchen sink, or bringing the whole kitchen sink out at different times in a way that's actually going to be of value to you. So just like in your business, this would be the time when you're actually creating that real questioning, that real spirit. In your life, this might show up at your church. It might show up in your meditation center. It might show up, when you're doing your yoga. It's when you connect to a greater source, which is what gives you the power to really know that you're on the right track. And you need that every single week, not just once every month or once every couple of months, but every single week you're tapping into that, and this stops the stress from showing up. Here, let me take you to the what energy. And as we're doing this, if you have not taken the test, then go take the Millionaire Master Plan test so you can see how important it is to know this first infrared level, especially if you're in debt and you're trying to struggle with that while you're trying to build a business. This is critical. So there is right here a little video, which is a video I put together on infrared to red level, which is what this is all about, and how to start creating a rhythm in your life which serves you, as opposed to you feeling you're having to go chase everything around you and never having enough time. Why is it at school this happens, right? At school, we learn all sorts of things. We learn history, we learn our languages, we learn math. Like, we're learning all these different subjects, but we're learning them, even if we're not interested in them, or we don't think they're our strengths, we're learning them in an effective way, or at least partly effective way, because we're actually going by the bell, right? It's like there's a schedule at school which ensures that we go through everything at the right place, right time. And just like each of us can now replicate that, now for something effective in our lives, no matter what your thoughts are about school, the fact is you learn stuff. And so what about now really using your time to learn about things that are going to be valuable to you in your business or in your life? How much time have you really designed out every week for your family? How much time have you designed out for your health? How much have you thought through already how much of your time is going into connecting with the right people, or having the right mentors, or learning? And the point is, you can have too much time in each of these areas as well as too little time. So it's about creating that rhythm. And in that link which I shared earlier, go click on it. You'll see there's a workbook, a playbook, which allows you to walk through every step to assess, am I actually in the right rhythm right now? And what do I need to do to change or to shift it as well? So here's my Wednesday. I am now in the wood pavilion. Have a look at the view from here, right? Oh, by the way, there it is. It says wood pavilion. And this is the question what. So the question what, this is where I have written all my books. In fact, I have my laptop down here right now. This is spring energy. So we actually have a river here, which is the sense of spring, and water energy. Just like the water energy over in the water ballet was very much like a rain shower energy because of the fountain, the water energy here is very much spring energy. It's the beginning of things. And that's why at the beginning of any project, you want to have this kind of spring energy. Right? It's just listen to the sound of the spring. Not sure if you can hear it on the video, hope you can. But the real fundamental sense of this is a bit like a brainstorming energy. Spring energy is when everything's crisp and sharp. Think of it a little bit like the preparation table on a kitchen. So you have the fridge where you keep things cool, which is the winter energy. You have the kitchen sink, the flow, which is the water energy. Now you've got the actual preparation table where you can bring the things out now that they've been taken out of the fridge, now that you've cleaned them up and they're ready to be prepared for the meal, right? And this is where it's like, what's the product? What's the idea? If you have a big enough why, then this becomes much easier. And I will always spend my Wednesdays here at Vision Villas. I'll spend a lot of time in this pavilion here. And it's when I'm doing all my creation, just like today. This is why I do my videos and send them out on a Thursday. Wednesday's my creative day, so it's when I do these little videos. So just knowing that that every single day is a specific time to do everything, it makes life so much more easy for us not to end up getting caught up in stress. Hey, you know, if you go from trying to do a spreadsheet to getting the phone interrupted to, you know, now I'm going to go speak to someone or get into a meeting, no wonder at the end of the day you end up so stressed, because stress is all about shifting energies. So this is not, like I said, time management, it's energy management. And we're not even creating the right spaces. So we might be sitting in the same place trying to take the phone call, while at the same time we're also trying to like, you know, do our numbers or, you know, or get some concentration time. And it never works, because it's a bit like trying to freeze something and then heat it up again and then freeze it again. And the amount of stress and energy you use ends up exhausting you in a way that if you actually break it up into parts, it can make all that difference. By the way, I'm not saying that we don't all have certain times when we have to be working hard because we're working for someone else while we're trying to make ends meet, right? There's a whole concept of Clark Kent and Superman where you've got to be the two to get the work done and to grow the things you want to grow. But the most important thing is really for you to get this sense of rhythm and the fact that you can control a rhythm of energy and to set up these spaces that work for you. So I will always set up a wood energy or a spring energy wherever I travel around the world, which is a place where I know I can put things on the wall or have things around me that allow me to be creative. I'm not going to be taking phone calls during that time either, but it will be the time when I'll be putting the time aside, and the moment I step into that space, I become creative already. And this is kind of interesting if you think about it. A lot of people think that we are creatures of habit, but it's not really about the habit, because you could have someone who's really talkative, but if that person ends up going into a library, I can guarantee that person's going to get just as quiet as the next person. So this isn't about our habits, it's about our environment. And in the same way that you wouldn't go into a library and make a lot of noise, you probably wouldn't read a book in a nightclub either. Right? So there's an appropriate place for everything. And when you go into a library, everyone goes quiet, everyone has concentration time, everyone goes into a nightclub, everyone starts dancing, the music's loud. By us setting up those spaces, one of the most damaging things you can do is to have a home office where you're trying to do everything in one place. Because that's like a chef trying to do everything in one spot, wondering why you can't cook a chicken in the fridge. So where are we now? We are now in the oven, right? We are now in summer energy. This, you can see everything's red in here. So we are now in the fire barley. We're in the east, which is where the sun rises. So fire is all about rising. You can see that up here, the question in the fire barley is the question, who? The sound in here, you might not be able to hear it, but there's kind of quadraphonic sound coming from our fountains here, because this is a bit like being in a cocktail party. You know, when you're actually getting this kind of buzz and the sound, it just starts getting you connected to people. Just like every Thursday, which is my day when I have my who. I do my mentoring course on Thursday, I do all my phone calls on Thursday, and it might be that every day you need to be doing certain phone calls or you need to be connecting with people. Put it down to kind of a bracket of time every day if you can't do it like for an entire day in the week. But the key thing again is you don't have that time and the space to step into. The moment I get into my who space, which is where I've got my phone, I've got my contact details, the moment I step into that, I get into Fire Roger straight away. I straight away can start doing the things I need to do, and for short attention spans, because my natural energy is not extrovert energy. But if I need to be speaking to people and I need to be getting onto the right people and getting people aligned with are we communicating effectively with everyone, that will be on the Thursday. And it might be different for you. You might decide that these 5 days and the way I've designed it, you want to do it a little bit differently, that's fine. But again, without having designed your time and your spaces, there's no way you're going to design your money, right? Because there's no way that as you start growing your rhythm, you're going to be able to attract all the right energy and all the right people to you if you're not in control at a level which actually allows you to be able to be sustainable week after week, year after year. So I've had many people, entrepreneurs who've been following this system and have said it's done wonders to the way that they run their business, to the way they can actually be far more calm, collected, and make far better decisions by actually letting things happen at certain times. And by you setting this up as well, no matter, even if you don't have a business yet, by you setting this up and actually saying, you know what, there's time for everything, and I can design it this way, and I can connect to all those different energies that work for me, that makes all the difference. So you're going from the mental energy, which is all about how, like making sure at the beginning of the week you've got that set, so the whole week you don't have to worry about that anymore. You've got then the water energy, which is like the kitchen sink, which is the flow as opposed to know. You've got the wood energy, which is now to grow, which is in the middle of the week. Then to glow, which is the fire energy. That's the energy when you're actually connecting to all the people you need to connect with. And then that leads us to the final energy, which is the when energy, the earth energy, which is what settles me down on a Friday before the weekend with the family. And this is the energy which we're kind of like going through this little pathway to get to. And this is the energy, wow, nice day today. This is the energy where you get to ask the question when and where, and everything gets connected in to the roots. Think about this almost like the serving plate. Think about this like being the dinner table, where it's now all done, but everything's done in its right time as well. You know, by the way, this cycle, it shows up in everything that I know I've done in my life. You know, even this resort, we didn't just decide when we were in London we were going to have a resort and then it just magically appeared. Obviously, it had to happen one step at a time. Did it start with us saying, let's save up the money for a resort, or let's like grow a business that can afford a resort? No, it started by us actually coming out to Bali and saying, if we're going to have a resort in Bali, we better start by being in Bali. We started by having some holidays here, then we actually decided to move here. And in fact, when we got here, we were renting to begin with, thinking, well, maybe we'd be able to find a place in 5 years or so. And we actually started with that first question, which is the question, why do we even want a resort? We said it can't be because we just want a resort, because I always had a dream of having a resort. We're now in the Earth Bali. You can see it's actually where we have our spa as well. Yeah, it wasn't even just a matter of just saying, let's just have a resort because we would love a resort, even though it was a dream of ours. It had to have a bigger reason. When we got to Bali, within the first week, we got the reason. You know, Renata got connected in with a group called the John Fawcett Foundation, which gives cataract surgery, restores eyesight to Balinese. In that same week, by total coincidence, or luck, by being the right place, right time, as we were looking for a place to rent, we saw a little ad in the real estate section of one of the offices we went to, which was for a 13-bedroom house. And we thought, that can't be right, 13-bedroom house. I said, let's just go have a look. And we showed up at this resort where it was totally overgrown. The person who had at that point didn't have resort licenses anymore. We were like looking at this thing, realizing that we could actually rent it and see if we could do it up. And at that point, we said, well, what if we call it Vision Villas? And we actually connected it with the John Fawcett Foundation, so we can be giving back continuously to that foundation to help people to get vision, while we're also helping people coming to the resort to give vision. So this idea of getting vision and giving vision, where we actually had this virtuous cycle, became the why. And sure enough, now that that showed up, we then had the what, which was the resort itself. We turned it into an entrepreneur resort. One thing led to another. We got the right who on board, so we have a great team here who's now leading things. I'm here today having just run one of our mentoring programs here called iLab, which is a 30-day accelerator. Yeah, one thing leads to another, and now we've got a whole schedule behind everything that takes place, with the next resort coming as well, which is going to be a resort that we're going to be having in Hawaii, then we're going to have one in Italy, one in South Africa. And I know I need to be in these places. So, for example, in January, I'll be in Hawaii with one of the groups there, the Transformation Leadership Council, where they happen to have an event in January, which again, by coincidence, happens to be where we want to have the resort. So, you know, the moment you get your intention and you get that clarity of what you really want to do, you've got to show up in the right places. And that's what this entire video is about. Designing your life so it's not accidental, but it's deliberate. Here we are in the when. So when's it going to happen for you? Like, when does that journey start? The one that you actually have mapped out to say, here is the pathway, here's the journey and what I want to create. This is the Earth Pavilion. And at the end of the day, we're all part, as Buckminster Fuller says, of Spaceship Earth. Oh look, there's a butterfly that just came by. So the real key thing here is, now that we are here and we're ready to make a difference in the world, how are we going to do it? What do we start with when we think we have nothing? We start with our time. And that's really what I'm going to leave you with. That there is something that changes in relative value the wealthier you get. And yes, it is your money, but it's also your time. And it actually goes in the opposite direction to what most of us think. Wealthy people value their money less than they value their time. When you think about that for a moment, if you're someone who's struggling and you're thinking, I value money a lot, as long as you're valuing money a lot, then you do a lot for $1,000. Obviously, if someone's wealthy, they'll say, it's not about the money, it's not about the $1,000. But you can't become wealthy by just pretending money's not worth a lot, because at the moment, it could be really important to you. But what you can do to move up the scale is to be thinking about how valuable your time is. Because when it comes to money, when you spend your money, you can always get more. But when you spend your time, it's gone forever. Look, I appreciate you being on this video, because you've just invested time with me. And by me doing this video, I'm investing time with you as well. It's how we use that time in such a way that we know that when we spend our time, it never comes back. and how we say then we're going to really start valuing it from today. We're going to make that happen. We're going to actually design the next 5 days and give it a go in these energies. We're going to each day know what we're focusing at, trying to answer, like how are we going to make things happen? Why are we even doing this? What is it that needs to be done today? The who, like who do we need to connect with? And then when are these things going to take place? You're going to see that even the most successful business in the world set up their rhythm in such a way that they have different times to be able to solve or to be able to grow different things. And with that whole concept of flow, and then going from flow to grow, grow to glow, glow to slow, and slow to know, that those are the 5 promises that make up the 5 planets that we see in the night sky that makes up the week of our, weeks of our days of our week. It's the 5 vowels we see in our alphabet. All of this is linked. The secrets are hidden in plain sight, but it starts with you and how you're going to create your rhythm for this next week ahead. On the next video, we are going to go into how you create your $1 million plumbing system, how you set up all your finances, and we're going to see how by just setting up these things on flowing time and space, being right place, right time, and then flowing money in the right way, we can then start really focusing at the steps that allow us to be able to get from where we are to where we want to go. Thanks everyone very much for watching. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. Make sure you take the test, and we will see you on the next video.